Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. In this video, we're going to have a quick run through what's been happening on the Pro Tour. Now, these are the events that don't take place on TV, but you can still bet on them. And in a nutshell, there's 24 UK Pro Tours over the calendar year, and there's some European Pro Tours as well, both of which we're going to cover in this video. It's 128 players down to one. In one day, really. So it's good entertainment on PDC TV or sometimes streamed on your favourite bookmaker website if you have a bet on it as well. So yeah, plenty going on, and this is the ones that Pieman, hardcore darts fans like Pieman and myself really do get stuck into, despite it not being on TV. So there's been 4 Pro Tour events recently. A couple of weeks ago, they had back-to-back events. Players Championship 5 and 6 in Barnsley, and then the weekend just gone, there was Players Championship 7 and 8 back in Germany on the European continent for the first time in a couple of years due to you know what. So we're just going to have a run through who won them, and very quickly before I go to Pieman. Players Championship 5 was won by Damon Heta, who averaged 107 in the final against a very much on Gary Anderson. The next day, 250 to 1 shots made the final. Jim Williams, who only got his Pro Tour card a few weeks ago, and Ricky Evans, that was the final there. Williams coming out on top there for his maiden win on the tour. And then just last weekend, just gone, the big boys. It was Going Price winning on the Saturday against Madars Razma in the final, and Michael Van Gerwen beating Martin Schindler on the Sunday. So the cream did rise to the top on the weekend just gone. Pieman, hit me with some Pro Tour news, updates and reviews.
Yeah, I love the Pro Tour. Absolutely love it. Saturdays and Sundays, Pro Tour weekends, it's heaven. Just stick it on. It's on all day, midday start normally. Get in. You've got it all till about 7 o'clock at night. I mean, you could dip in and out throughout the day. 2 stream boards, loads of action, loads of names you don't normally get to see a lot of the season, and really big important matches for emerging players. This is where you'll find your players who, if you want to be ahead of the curve in darts, you've got to be following these Pro Tours, because this is where you see the new tour card holders coming up against the better players, and you can try and judge what level they're at, what level they may be able to go to. It's a great place for finding an edge, and it's a great place for just entertainment outright, to be honest. As you say, a real contrast between the 2 weekends. The European Pro Tour, we saw 2 possibly surprising winners. I'm not sure you can call Damon Heta a surprise winner the way he's been playing, but yeah, I mean, not a Premier League player, I suppose you would say. Jim Williams, certainly a huge surprise. But then copping over to Europe, and then we've got Van Gerwen and Price winning them. So you could say business as usual. But I would say over the course of a year, it's about half and half between really household names and maybe surprise winners. We saw the likes of Callum Ridds, Chris Dorby win these last year. So it does give these sort of like that next tier down of player that's trying to make their breakthrough. This is a great place to do it. I guess to start with Players Championship 5, Damon Heta, brilliant to see Damo get a win. Of course, he has won a Pro Tour before in Barnsley a long time ago, when he first got his card. And that was a big surprise. This one has not been a surprise. To be honest, it's been coming and coming and coming for Damo, someone that we've had on this channel last year, friend of the channel, both delighted to see him get over the line. It was a fantastic final with Gary Anderson. It would have been easy to roll over the way Gary Anderson had been playing. Gary Anderson had been averaging 104, 113 and 101 to get into that final. He averaged 103 in that final. So, I mean, Gary Anderson was playing basically fantasy darts, but Damo's just got absolute gears and levels. It's really, really, really impressive the way he goes about it. He's taken himself from I would say last year, someone who hits a lot of tons and ton 40s to suddenly he is one of these players who can go 180, 180. He has got a 9 darter in the locker, and his big finishing and his pressure finishing has just really, really gone up a notch in the last couple of months. And God, I thought he was fantastic on this day. And
it was the best I've ever seen him in the final time, and he was absolutely excellent. And you had to beat Gary.
Yeah.
So there's often days at the Players Championship where there's just one standout player who is just on it for that day. Often you'll see Peter Wright will do it at least once a season, maybe a handful of times a season, and no one will stop him. And Gary Anderson looked like that man on that day, but he got stopped by Damon Heta in the final. And Gary would have been disappointed because he doesn't make many semis and finals of these Pro Tour events. He's not really that interested, to be quite honest. But he was on this red hot, and that it was an excellent final. And just to explain, the Players Championship, they have their own rankings within the Players Championship as the season goes on. So the top 32 are seeded, and it's a random draw into those top 32. And then at the end of the season, the top 32 make the TV Players Championship finals, which is the last TV tournament before the World. So yeah, that's how the Players Championship works generally. Yeah, that was the number 5 Pieman. On to number 6. Like I said earlier, 250 to 1 shots met in the final. 2 of them, Jim Williams and Ricky Evans. Yeah, both in that. I think Ricky's been to a final before, but not one. So yeah, the winner of this final was going to be picking up the first Pro Tour title. Safe to say the averages weren't quite as good as the final on the previous day, but entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a classic in any sport. Like if you're a big fan of the sport, you probably enjoy watching close battles between 2 evenly matched teams as much as you do the best in the world. And I'm sure Jim Williams and Ricky Evans won't be offended for saying that this final, in terms of an average and a standard, wasn't anywhere near as high as the other ones, both averaging in the 80s. But what it did have was bags of nervy darts and important finishes at big times, and they were both trading blows, and they both had some off legs, and that reflected in the averages. But is it any wonder it's the biggest game of both of their careers, because they both knew they had a great chance of winning this. And Ricky Evans, he'll look on that as a real opportunity missed. He should look on it as a fantastic day. And really, he's been coming back to form for a little while now, Ricky Evans, and he's been threatening to do something like that in my book. And the players that he beat, well, while not superstars, he beat some really solid operators to get to that point. And I was really impressed with the way he went about his day. I mean, we look at the other 2 semi-finalists. It was going to be a bit of an upset, whatever, because Jim Williams had to beat Martin Schindler to get there. Someone who we'll touch on, because
to do so. Schindler was unlucky.
Schindler did eventually get to a final last weekend, very much deserved. But then Ricky Evans beating Danny Noppert. Danny Noppert, obviously a UK Open winner. But again, when Danny Noppert is the favourite of the 4 remaining players, it's been a bit of a day for upsets. And yeah, even the quarterfinals stretching back to there. I mean, the highest ranked player in the last 8 was Michael Smith. And then after that, you were going down to Noppert. So it really was a day for upsets. Fantastic for Jim Williams. I really enjoyed his interview afterwards, where he talked about the difficulty of balancing it and finding a place for dart in his life now that he's got his tour card. Jim Williams, a BDO stalwart, obviously, and always had the ability to go over, competed in the Grand Slam a few times when he was an amateur player. This just shows the class that he has. He doesn't do the spectacular averages, but he certainly took out all his checkouts, showed great bottle and great determination. And I think you see in the years and years of experience that Williams has gained in the BDO coming to the fore here, because it wasn't a day for vintage, high averages, high scoring. It was a day for grinding, hanging in there, finding a way to win. And yeah, he's a class act, and it seems like a really nice bloke. And then ironically, he'd already decided not to travel to the European Pro Tours the next weekend. So he hasn't competed in these next 2. Officially, when Jim Williams plays again on Saturday, he will be on a 7-game unbeaten streak. So yeah, let's see if he can keep it going.
Yeah, a couple of things to mention from Players Championship number 6. The final finished on Madhouse. They were both on Madhouse, and Ricky Evans bust Madhouse with his first dart on his last visit to the board, and he didn't get another visit because Jim Williams came to the board and took out Madhouse. So that kind of
1 over 1 in. It's an absolute standard for Madhouse, isn't it?
And I'd also shout out Schindler, we're going to come on to, but he really has been knocking on the door, and it was proven here, another semi-final, that he should have won against Jim Williams.
And a first quarter-final for Josh Rock is someone I want to mention. I really, really like this kid, 20 years old. I think he's got it all. He's already had a 9-darter in the Pro Tour. He's had about 10 ton-plus averages in 8 weekends.
Took some real scouts as well, Pieman.
Oh, yeah, he can do it against anyone. He's got bags of confidence. It looks like he belongs, and if you're old enough, you're good enough, aren't you? So I really, he's one to watch.
Like I say, over the weekend in Germany was the Players Championship 7 and 8, and made sense because there was over for the Premier League on the Thursday in Rotterdam, and it's not too far to go where they played in Germany. Gerwin Price winning against Madars Razma. Pretty much the best game of the day, though, without any question, was the semi-final. Gerwin Price against Rob Cross, right? I'll tell you a little story because I was watching it live. I don't know whether you were, Pieman.
I did see it, yeah.
Rob Cross went 6-2 up and went to shake hands. He's not been in the semi-final for some time. So just for the viewers, everything up to the quarterfinals is 1st to 6, semis 1st to 7, finals 1st to 8. Now, I have watched it back, and it is on Twitter. There could be an argument made that Gerwyn Price initiated the handshaking, and he was the one that thought the game was over rather than Cross. Anyway, the game wasn't over. It was 6-2. It was 6-2. Gerwyn Price went on to win the next 5 legs, and Rob Cross missed 12 match darts. It might not be a record, but I can't name you another game that I know of ever where someone's missed more than 12 match darts. So yeah, Rob Cross lost 5 legs on the spin, missed 12 match darts. Still managed to average over 100, but Gerwyn Price got the win. And then, to be honest, the final was a little bit of a non-event because Gerwyn Price ran away with it against Razma.
Yeah, that Cross game, oh God, it was just, I mean, when it, at the time of him going to shake the hand 6-2 up, it was a no contest, really.
Oh, it was brilliant.
I mean, Cross
was superb,
battering him. It was vintage. But as soon as it goes 6-3, 6-4, then he's starting to panic in the have I thrown this away? And like you say, it wasn't like he was short of chances. I mean, I think virtually every one of those legs, he was on a double, and they just wouldn't go in for him. And Price wasn't racing away. I know he won one of them in 22 darts. I don't think he had any 12 darters in that 5-leg run. So it was all 5 visits or more to the board. So Cross, you have to say, threw it away. But fair play to Price. He's too good an operator. He's a world champion for a reason. He's not going to give you, if you give him a chance, he'll take it. And against Razma, frankly, Razma and Kevin Doet's meeting in the semi-finals. Pleased for Doet's to make a semi. He's been knocking on the door a little bit, had a couple of last 16 quarter-final runs. The young Dutchman, he looks another one to watch for the future. But Razma's experience told in the semi. And frankly, those two players look like they'd played their final. Razma was a spent force by the time he played Price. Price came racing out of the blocks, and by the time Razma got going, it was game over, really. And what I would note just about these two tours that we're talking about now is that a lot of players opted not to travel purely for 2 pro tours. The prize money is relatively low compared to other events, so especially Premier League players often opting not to travel and just to save the travel, save the hassle. And that does mean that some non-tour card holders can get invites in. So we had the likes of Matt Edgar getting the chance to play for the weekend. And obviously these guys, if they can afford to, will take that opportunity, because we have seen players last year without tour cards do really well on these pro tours. Chaz Barstow being an obvious one, where didn't have his tour card, but he was always in his first reserve if anyone couldn't be bothered to travel or had coronavirus. He had some really good runs, ended up getting in the Players' Championship finals, ended up getting in the World Championship, and then only went out to Michael van Gerwen. So just shows what these events, while they may seem minor, they can do wonders for these lesser-known players. And definitely one to watch who's emerging for these events.
Yeah, from Players' Championship 7, I'd call out 2 names. Scott Williams, not to be and no relation to Jim Williams, has been just averaging over 90. You scroll down Darts Connect and you'll see his name, whether he's winning or losing, just averaging over 90, putting in solid performances. And he's priced up in the region of 250 to 1 for these days. He met another quarter final and he got beat by the Bayern song Rob Cross. Another guy to call out, Dirk van Dijvenbode. I've still got faith in this man. It might be a false hope that I've got in him, but I think he's turning the corner. I think he's in the best form he's been in for about 18 months, which is not saying a lot because he's been not brilliant. But yeah, he's been doing enough in these Pro Tour events that he's ranked 7 or 8 in just the Players' Championship rankings. So he's one to call out there, but he didn't do a whole lot on the Sunday. Onto the Sunday, Van Gerwen. First Pro Tour win since 2020. Didn't win one at all in 2021, and he had 24 attempts. Beat Martin Schindler, a man that very, very much deserved to make the final. Schindler, not only this year has he been knocking on the door. I had him marked down, Pieman, as you know, as a man that was playing well and knocking on the door towards the back end of last year in the region of 200 to 1. He ain't going to be that anymore. But yeah, and also another story from the Sunday, Adrian Lewis made the semi-final, beaten by Schindler, but nice to see.
Yeah, great to see Adrian Lewis back at the back end of a tournament. And he's done that a couple of times at the back end of last year, actually got to quarterfinals. I think he did make one semi-final. That's another one for him. Just consistency with AD. And I think it's if you told me we were going to see him in a Pro Tour final this year, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because he has got it and he's got the class to do it. This event, I mean, frankly, I talk about these events being, a stomping ground for underdogs. This day was certainly not the case. I mean, all 8 of the quarterfinalists were bracketed players, so from the top 32 seeds, and even getting into the last 16, the only ones outside of the top 16 to make there were Danny Janssen and Jermaine Watamina. Yeah. So it really was like familiar faces here doing the job. And Martin Schindler, as you say, whilst not a familiar face to TV tournaments, and certainly not somebody that you would be putting up to win TV tournaments. On these Pro Tours, he's a different beast. He regularly averages over 100. He can do 9 darters. He's 180 for fun. He can beat any of the bigger players supposedly. So yeah, it wasn't a surprise to make him see that reach that final. I was really pleased for him that he did. And I think Van Gerwen said in his interview afterwards, he's played Martin Schindler a few times over the years, and he's a really dangerous player. You have to treat him with absolute maximum respect, and that's what Van Gerwen did. I talk about him getting on a winning streak in the Premier League, and this is another string to his bow here. And he's a winning machine when he gets going, and he'll be hoping to breed the confidence that saw him so dominant in this sport for a few years. And this might look like a minor event to some people, but trust me, this wasn't a minor event to Michael Van Gerwen. Really impressive. And yeah, good to see Luke Humphries in the semi as well. He's had a bit of a quiet start to the year, but that'll do him good.
And just there was one of these 4 events, I can't remember which one. You need to find it online on Twitter. Jamie
Hughes.
The
9-dart attempt.
It a 180, then it a 177, and then in his final visit, he thought he needed 141 when he actually needed 144. And he went treble 20 down for the treble 19. And actually, that was completely the wrong way to go, because he needed 144. You need to watch it. It's more entertaining than it is when I describe it. But yeah, certainly one to look at. And go on, Pieman.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. I mean, he's literally gone down for the 19 to set himself up for the 2 treble 20s, done it, and then decided to switch away. And yeah, the reaction of Alan Suter in the background is absolutely superb. He just looks up. He doesn't have a clue what's happened. And then you just see him chuckling to himself in the background. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, brilliant moment.
And really, the reason we're talking about the Pro Tours is, they happen back to back. And this, particularly in COVID, they was having 4 days back to back, which was great, because from a bookmaking or a betting perspective, there can't be many people in the country, Pieman, that are betting on this other than me and you. Whereby, unless someone wins on day 1, their odds for day 2 and day 3 don't change. So you can see the players you can quite clearly see the players that are in form. They need a bit of luck with the draw, but then hopefully the assumption we make is that they might carry that form over to the next day. So that's why we like them from a betting perspective. And this weekend they're back over in Barnsley, and there's 3 Players Championships back to back, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It'll be on PDC TV. We'll be betting on it, Pieman. Without giving too much away, where do you think who have you got your eye on for this weekend, as it were?
Well, I mean, usual suspects in terms of value. I always try and narrow myself down to 3 or 4 players that I think are priced wrong or are capable of outrunning the odds. And you've mentioned one of them, and I've mentioned one of them. But yeah, Scott Williams keeps getting put in there at 250 to 1. He's not playing like that. He's capable of beating anybody. He doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that gets phased by playing a big name. I know he had a background in the development tour, won the development tour, so that's obviously stood him in really good stead. He's used to winning, and with no crowds there, he's a player that really can outrun his prices. And Josh Rock, I've said it already. I mean, he keeps getting put in outrageous prices, 3 figures, and quarter final recently, and all the ability in the world. Yes, he's young, but is that really a negative for me? I mean, only if you let it be a negative. He doesn't look like a player that lacks belief. So if he's got the ability and he can keep putting it together, I mean, I think he didn't win a match in his first 4 Pro Tours, but he averaged over 100 in all of them. So it was just outrageous bad luck. But I suppose you could say it protected his price a little bit. So yeah, Josh Rock is definitely one. I don't want to, don't want everyone steaming into him, but that he's definitely one to watch.
Well, I'll give you a bit of an anecdote really about Scott Williams last week. So he played pretty well on the Saturday, made the quarterfinal where I didn't have any money on, and then I put a couple of quid each way on him at 251 for Sunday, and he went out in the first round against an opponent that averaged 77. So that's just how the betting goes usually with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Pro Tours. We love them. You're probably not going to get a video for every Pro Tour, but every now and again we might come in and review the last four that's happened, like we have done, and look forward to the next three. So
we'll have to try and start putting some pics on our Twitter as well for anyone that is interested, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And there's some at very big prices as well in there. And with some success towards the back end of last season, Pieman. And we don't like after times, but Ross Smith last November, I remember you highlighted. I followed you in, and he duly got it done at a three-figure price. So, yeah, hopefully we can follow up with that as well. So yeah, keep it here, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.